listening to the Metal Command Podcast.
Welcome back to the Metal Command Show. Tony here with you. And Rhapsody of Fire, otherwise known as Rhapsody when they first started out, was a band that really came onto the metal scene in the late 90s and really helped with the revival of power metal in Europe and around the world. And I remember that album, Legendary Tales, very well, and Symphony of Enchanted Lands very well. And I have an interview today with Alex Staropoli of Rhapsody of Fire, of course, one of the founding members and one of the main songwriters in the band. And I've always followed this band pretty closely for now over 2 decades. And, you know, I've always followed everything Alex has done with this band. I've always followed Luca Turilli and everything he's done in Rhapsody of Fire, and of course, you know, a lot of his solo stuff and, you know, Luca Turilli's Rhapsody, all that stuff. Any kind of incarnation of this band that stemmed from the original band members on that Rhapsody Legendary Tales album. I have followed these musicians for quite some time. So they have a new album coming out, Rhapsody of Fire, that is. Challenge the Wind, which I think is one of the best sounding albums they've ever put out, and one of the best albums from a songwriting perspective as well. So here is the interview with myself and Alex Staropoli of Rhapsody of Fire. Enjoy. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Metal Command Show. Of course, I'm here with Alex from Rhapsody of Fire. As for those of you that have known me, you know, when I did my original radio show 25 years ago, over 25 years ago, Legendary Tales, definitely still one of my favorites, and I've followed the band for a long, long time through a lot of craziness over the years. And there's a new album coming out, Challenge the Wind, which I'll be honest with you, I think it's one of the better albums you've put out. And I have Alex here to talk about it, to talk about the new album and tell everybody about it.
Thank you for having me. Well, thank you for the introduction, and it's very nice to talk with you again. Yeah, a lot of work, a lot of water under the bridge, a lot of work, and a lot of dedication, a lot of passion. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's that Challenge the Winds. It's an album with only fast songs and, you know, the purest heavy metal sides of Rhapsody of Fire. There's no ballad, there's no intro, straight to the point, still orchestral and powerful. So we are pretty excited that finally, after 3 years, we are going to release a new album.
My favorite song off the album. In fact, the song that, you know, when I was listening to the album that really grabbed me, and I kept repeating it over and over again, because I'm sure as you have listened to music, you run across records where you're like, man, I like that song a lot. Creel's Magic Staff, probably one of my favorite Rhapsody songs ever. Definitely, I just want to let you know that's probably my favorite song off the record.
Cool. Well, you know, there is an element which is very funny. We meet a lot of people, of course, a lot of fans, and you know, every time somebody comes to me and say, "This is my favorite song," it's never the same. Mm-hmm. So this is a good compliment in a way, you know, and you know, seeing that different people they get in love with a specific song. It's not necessarily always the same one. So this is cool.
Definitely some good stuff. So let's talk about this album, Challenge to Win. Is it a concept album? And maybe go into, you know, the concept behind this record.
Well, this is as you know, we started this new saga, and as a small introduction, I like to say that at the beginning I was very open, you know, and we met with Robbie and say, you know, look, I'm happy to do anything if you have a suggestion for a story, because I know he's into reading, into you know, thinking, and you know, and he's like me. We want to deliver a message, but at the very beginning, I was not really sure about. And talking about this with a friend of mine, a movie director, Neil Johnson, and he did a lot of video clip for us, and he said, "I know, wait a moment, I have a little thing for you. Listen to that." And he sent me a narration that he recorded personally with Christopher Lee, where he was narrating about Nephilim. And when I heard that, I said, okay, I'm convinced now. That's the sign that we use this little narration. Let's go on with, let's create this new saga. And I left the job to Robbie to write down the story. And we involved Giacomo into that, so he could write all the lyrics of the albums, and that's relevant because we want the singer to write the lyrics and being capable of singing them live fluently, so
Yeah.
basically the introduction I made. And yeah, basically, we like to deliver a positive message, and of course there is a hero in the story, and there are evil counterparts, and in a simplistic way it's always this balancing, always this this fight of good against evil. But there's a bit more to reflect if some listener wants to get involved into that.
Sure.
You just listen to music, enjoy the overall scenario of music, but if you like, you can also get into the lyrics and maybe get some positive message. That is what we hope.
Right. When you come up with these concepts and you come up with the stories for, a lot of these records that you've done since the beginning, basically, what inspires these stories? Like, what out there really inspires you to write? And I'm talking about the lyrical perspective of things and the storylines in the albums. What inspires a lot of that?
Well, generally speaking, and I'm referring to the past, but also to the present.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's about books, stories, and most of the times it's like influences we got from when we were kids. Musically, I was inspired by movies since I was a little kid. I was just blown away about all fantasy movies and stuff. I never wrote any lyrics, so I cannot talk for Torelli right now. But what he wrote, it was really triggered by movies like Conan the Barbarian. Later on, like from Lord of the Rings. There's always like something you can relate to and try to do something with the same vibe, with the same intricacy, but still has to be easy to understand, has to be fantasy, and there must be some specific characters in the story to make it interesting.
Sure.
Basically it's like movies and books, I would say. And what's important for us, that we come from a fantastic, beautiful town in Italy is between the sea and the mountains, is like the connection with the nature. It was always a big part of that. We don't really know why, but nature really were always a big part of what we. In fact, still today, when I have to compose, I always imagine being mountains and landscapes and natural elements, fire, wind. It's always elements that brings a lot of visuals.
Sure. I remember in the early days, on the first, some of the early albums, and as you progressed, there was this, you guys referred to yourself sometimes as Hollywood metal. And it made a lot of sense because I always felt like like somebody wrote a story and you were like writing the soundtrack to it. Like that's how it always felt like you approached it, at least from the fan perspective of listening to the stuff over the years.
Yeah, there was a journalist that once said, and he was referring, I think, to Triumph for Agony or Symphony of Vincent and Lance Part 2, where we really used real orchestra and Christopher Lee and everything. And the description was fantastic. He said, "This is a movie for your ears."
Yeah.
And so this is, it's so simple to explain what everything we do is about, So when we compose music, I imagine natures and movies and scenes, visuals in general. So this come across to the listener, and so this is fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how I've always thought of it. It felt like I was watching a fantasy movie and you guys, basically composed the soundtrack to it. And that's kind of
the use of the narration and different actors and dialogues. This was like really like movie scenes. So that was one of the elements that were really important for us to do,
Yeah.
and maybe not so commercial, but we really wanted to do that. And yeah, the description Hollywood came more from. It didn't came from us really. It was a description we got. In fact, we would prefer to call film score metal. As like just more serious, because Hollywood it can mean it doesn't mean really the epic side of the movie productions. It could
Yeah.
be it could be any movie. So the film score metal, it was a description that we like the most and still use today.
Awesome. So I have to ask, Christopher Lee, what was it like to work with an actor like him on the records that you did with him?
It was unreal. It was unreal. Well, actually, we watched the movies, Luca and myself, and we were amazed by the movie. But we watched the movie with the Italian dubbing, which is anyway one of the best in the world, if not the best doublers in the world are from Italy. So it's pretty credible when you listen. But when you listen in English, of course, it's a different story. And we heard the voice of Christopher Lee, and we just thought he has a good voice. Maybe let's try to get him. We didn't think about him as a famous actor or anything. We just loved the character, of course, in Lord of the Rings, but the voice is what we were searching for. And we contacted through our management at the time. We contacted his agent, and we had some previous discussion. We present ourselves, we submit some music because he wanted to hear the music. And then he said yes. We met in London, and it was unreal to be in a studio with him. He came, he was so nice and polite and into it. And we did the narration in a few hours. It was
Yeah.
done. Everything was ready. He just had to narrate, and then when he came out, he said, "Okay, I'm done, but I would like to sing because nobody knows that I can sing. I'm not only an actor. Everybody asking me to act or to narrate stuff, but I want to sing. Can you make me sing in one of your songs?" So it's like he proposed himself, and then we decided to readapt the Magic of the Wizard Dream, and we did a video clip, and we did a TV shows, and in Germany it was incredible, hilarious. It's out of reality, and it was amazing. And so this proved that he was really into it. He understood the deepness of our music and the message. And we were the very first heavy metal band to have Christopher Lee on.
Yeah.
So,
Was he like into metal music? Was he like, did he just like your music because it had more of that classical feel to it, or the feel of a
yeah.
soundtrack?
Yeah, we submit the most sweet songs, the ballads. At the time, we had Lamento Heroico he could listen to, and we made him listen to new song. So yeah, he understood that we were much more than fast and powerful songs. We had also a theatrical, poetic, operistic kind of vibe in the music. This is what he liked, of course.
Yeah.
Something where he could sing and not lose his breath, of course. And it was amazing because we recorded the song in like in so many languages. I'm not sure I remember all the languages they say he sing, like Spanish and in French and in English and in German. It was crazy. He was totally into it because he always said, "I want to reach more fans. I want my fan base to grow." He was really into that, so he wanted to reach more people with his
Sure.
presence.
Yeah. I
Not
gotta
that
ask.
he need that, but it's
Yeah.
like funny to think about what he was, up to.
Like, had you ever heard him sing before he did that? Before he
No,
said
he just
no?
came out from the recording booth in the middle of the room. He started singing like whoa, like opera parts and stuff out of the blue, and everybody we look at each other and we thought maybe he's really gone, he's gone insane or something.
Yeah.
But it was really serious, and his voice was so powerful, and we said,
Yeah.
why not? Maybe a duet would be good, and yeah.
Yeah, that's got to be interesting, man. Because I
That's
before that album, I never heard of this guy singing. At least I never heard anything that he had done.
yeah.
And it had to be interesting when he says, "Let me sing something," and then you hear him record something, it had to be quite interesting because, obviously, again, I remember him from Lord of the Rings. I remember him from Star Wars, and it's like, I never thought of that dude as a singer until I actually heard him sing on that record.
For us, it was you imagine he was sitting there, he started narrating the first words, and we had goosebumps because like being in a movie. It was
Yeah.
unreal. We just and and then I remember we sit down to read it myself, and we compose some orchestral parts, some movie like parts on top of his narration. So he didn't have music on when he narrated. He was just narrating just recording his voice over nothing. But
Okay.
then we got the recordings, and we splashed them out a bit, and we create the music on top. So it was really a nice, very artistic process to make his voice with the right type of music, with crescendos and stuff, right atmospheres, with wind gusts and stuff. It was really a lot of work, but it was like partially like it was for a movie or something. So.
Absolutely. Now, I remember on the albums that you make now, as compared to say your early days, technology has kind of evolved. Obviously, is it a lot easier for you to create these productions, like they actually record and create this music, or do you still find it just as challenging
No,
as you did back then?
so much easier. It's easier because I have more control. I mean, with the technology today, you have everything, and
Mm-hmm.
so when I have idea, I just write down drums, bass, guitars, whatever, everything. So it's my way of work. If I compose a song by myself, I write everything: drums, bass, guitar, vocal lines, harmonies, orchestration. And if Robbie comes in and gives me some guitars, I do the same thing. I always create parts for every instrument. That, of course, at the end, the real musician will play in a better way. Of course,
Yeah.
and yeah, this gives me it gives the composer a clear vision of what could be the final result. It sounds already like a production. A demo would sound like a production already. So yeah, on one side it's easier, but of course there are magic moments that you may miss when you are alone. You're just by yourself, and you create the magic just within yourself, not sharing anything with someone else, unless you compose it really physically with someone else. So it depends, but of course technology is a big help.
I know in the last time we talked, I know you had talked about how difficult it was to re-record on legendary years to re-record some of those
Yeah.
songs. Did you find it more difficult to do that than creating new stuff?
Yeah.
With the technology?
Well, I think this is what I told you. Yeah. I don't know why. It's just because we wanted to do the songs, the re-recordings, and be faithful to the original.
Yeah.
We didn't want to add or to take away things. We just wanted to respect the original songs exactly with the same parts, just with brand new sounds and with a brand new singer. So it was, yeah, in a way, it felt more like harder to do than work on new songs, because you have the responsibility that you want to make the re-recording sounds right.
Right. Yeah, especially if you want to duplicate the same feel. I think it's a little different to have to go and say, "Hey, I have to like recreate, the same feel the original version of Emerald Sword did," for example.
No, you cannot do that.
Yeah.
It's, of course, it would sound more modern, more fresh with a new singer. It's really a different thing, but
Right.
I think I'm convinced it was a great way to present Giacomo as a new singer. It was a nice way, because anyway we were going to play those songs on stage as well, so it was like uh, a good thing, a good step to start with.
Yeah, he's a really good singer. And how did you end up meeting him and getting him into the band?
Yeah, Well, I saw him on TV because he was participating to a program in it was, I don't remember, it was anyway a very good channel in Italy, and it's one of the mainstreams. And the program was The Voice of Italy, like The Voice. I mean,
Okay.
that's
Okay.
so there were some participants, and I was just changing channels, and occasionally I saw this guy singing Led Zeppelin, and I said, what is this on a national TV channel?" And I listened, I saw a few episodes, and I like the voice, I like the approach, and I thought, you know what, I want to know this, I want to meet him, I want to know this guy, and I invited him in the studio when we were recording Into the Legend, because one of the things I always search for good choirs, and it's very difficult to find people that really sing very well on point, very stay focused all the time, and I wanted to
Yeah.
try with him, and I asked him if he knew good singers, and he was actually teaching to other people. So he brought in a lot of his friends, and we create nice choirs. And that's the first time we worked together, basically for just for choirs. And then at the time when the Fabio left, I really thought about him, and to we invited him in Trieste and to sing some songs, and we
Right.
we we liked the idea immediately. We said this is the right person to try to do a new, start from zero, and go on with a new lineup, and it worked, and everybody were amazed. FM Records was amazed as well, because they said, "My God, maybe this band is over." Because when you change singer, many bands, they are gone. And of course, still today remains the aficionados and the people that like more the past version of the band. But still, after some work and dedication, it's almost 10 years, or it's over 10 years now that
Yeah.
we are with the same lineup, and we prove that we are genuine. We
Sure.
like what we do, and when we go on stage, we just kick and have fun, enjoy, and bring the audience closer. And it's a good feeling, good energy.
Yeah, I think sometimes when you change members in a band, let's say there's a key member not involved again, many times people will, before they hear any music. I just talked about this with in a previous interview I just did with somebody, where people will just want to write the band off without hearing anything,
I
and
know.
that's always a battle.
It happens to me when the band loses the singer, for example. It's like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, just an example in rock, when David Lee Roth went away from Van Halen. Well, at the time, I didn't even know. I just met a new Van Halen with Sammy Hagar. Then I discovered there was another singer before.
Yeah.
But yeah, when the band that you like, they lose a co-founder, a co-composer, or a singer, it's always like you get, oh fuck, I don't want to know anything. I don't want to get involved. And
Right.
I understand that, but we are still young, and we still want to do music. It's what we love to do, so we didn't care about this. So you cannot listen to what other people think. We love the music, and Robbie De Micheli was there since the very beginning with myself and Luca Turilli. They were schoolmates. We were playing together already. So Robbie was not stranger at all to the reality of this band.
Right.
And I called him up, and we sit down, we discuss, we just rediscover how we could really resume our friendships after so many years. And it was incredible. Still today, one of the best friends, is a big help. Also inside the band, is a fantastic communicator. Unluckily, he doesn't speak fluent English, but he's really, now we are all Italian, so there is an extra gear to our communication skills in
Sure.
within.
Moving on to a different topic, as a musician and as technology has evolved, one of the biggest controversies right now is AI, artificial intelligence. What do you think of all that? There are some people that use it to kind of help them. For example, you tell AI, hey, I want this drum beat and drum fill here, and it gets in there when you're trying to compose a song. There's some bands that have been accused of just their entire song, the songs they've supposedly written are AI. And what are your thoughts on that and where this is actually heading?
Uh, I don't really know about this 100% to be really uh, ready for an answer, because I never heard of a metal band using AI. I
Mm-hmm.
never heard anything about that. But I know that AI is invading the world of the graphics side,
Mm-hmm.
and all the covers I see lately, they are just fucking disgusting. They're
You talk
horrendous.
you talk about the album covers, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
It's impossible. It's really impossible. I mean, if you are an artist and you want to create something, you may use AI, and then you adjust it, you brush it, you paint it on yourself, so you have a base that you can modify, and God, you can look incredible, but it's not genuine in this. I mean, this is. I think it's okay for certain purposes, but for music, I don't know. Maybe for it can be useful for some plugins. Maybe I saw there are some mastering plugins that use some AI technology, and this can help. But again, giving the chance to anybody in the world, whoever the best mastering in the world, I don't know how how cool is that, you know?
right.
And at the end, you must write your own music. If you don't write your own music,
Correct.
I think it should be written. There should be some law coming up where it tells you, well, this album was made entirely with AI,
Yeah. You
and so
know,
you have to know what you buy.
yeah, I can. I'll give you an example where I used it one time before. I've used it twice. I needed a new logo. I just created a new watermark for my photography. AI gave me like a little template, and then I started adjusting things. Okay, I really don't want this color here, and I kind of like adjusted it, and it doesn't really look. I mean, it looks somewhat like what originally came out, but not really. And then I will tell you, as a songwriter, there was one sentence in a paragraph of words that I wanted to write, and I couldn't figure out like what would be a better way to word this. So I gave that sentence to an AI, to AI, and it restructured the same thing. I'm like, that works perfectly. It actually put a word in there I didn't think of, and
Well,
then I used it.
this is cool. I think this is cool because at the end, it's a skill to be able to use the grammar. So you have to read a
Mm-hmm.
book, open a book, and search. And the AI can do this within a matter of seconds.
Mm-hmm.
This is still okay. I mean, when you want to portray a message and you want to write it in a good way, I mean, this is okay. Still, the message is yours.
Yeah,
It's what you meant. So it could be okay. And graphically, yes, I agree with what you said. It's just that I don't want to see covers that look all the same. It's better
yeah.
not. It's just better black, and that's it. The name of the band, and that's it. I would appreciate this much more.
There was I'm trying to remember. There was like three different bands that ended up having almost the same album cover, and they were different artists that
Okay.
basically did the covers, but they
I
used
don't know
AI for the
about that.
covers.
I don't see that.
Yeah, well, I saw it, and the three covers were very similar,
Yeah.
and it was kind of like, really? I mean, they looked almost not completely identical, but you can always tell AI because there's certain imperfections in it that you're kind of like, yeah, there's no way a computer had to come up with this, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's kind of the craziness. So I'm just curious what your thoughts were on that whole thing, because I know like people are saying Motley Crue did this on their new song, that it was composed with AI. I mean, I don't know how true that is, but there's bands that, people are talking about writing music with it. How far does it go? And so, it's always nice to pick your brain because you're a composer. You've been doing it a very good job of it for, over 25 years.
Yeah.
And it's always interesting how the technology evolves.
Yeah, I think this AI on music is. I think it would go. It would be used more in pop rock and maybe not even rock. I don't know. Maybe more in the pop scene or something that is
Right.
really because at the end I don't see it in heavy metal or in rock.
Yeah.
Was just I saw just went to see a show here in London. That was some weeks ago. I saw Slash and Mike Kennedy,
Yeah.
and I was just thinking. I mean, there was so much people in the arena, and I thought, you look at these people. Every one of them, they went out of their home, took the car or the tube, came here to the show to see physically something so genuine, like five band members playing their music
Yeah.
and playing it very well. I mean, how can you replicate this with AI? If you do an album,
Hmm.
it must be genuine because then you want to go on stage and play the same music and elevate it even. You cannot you just have to do it with your own hands. You cannot just use
Yeah.
technology.
You have to make avatars of yourself like Kiss did.
Yeah, well, this is another topic. I mean, it's interesting to see how much people that go out from their house to see
Yeah.
to the arena and see an artist, a band playing. I this gives me hope.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like I think like ABBA made a whole bunch of money doing avatars of themselves, and
Well,
I really
they
didn't
cannot
get it.
stand anymore. If maybe that's the new modern way of doing things.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I got to be honest. This record that you've put out, I would probably put it, in my top 5 records that you've done over the years. I think that, and I don't know what it is about the music on this specific album, Challenge to Win, but I like it better than the last one, and I like it. I actually like it a lot, and a lot more than I anticipated. To the point where I was listening to it a lot, quite a bit more than I did with the last record. And I always feel that as time goes on, and you have members that you get in a band, and as time goes on, it seems like once you gel, once you have that time working together, it seems that at least in your case, the albums keep getting better and better. And how do you feel about that? As because when you get a new member, it's kind of like, how are things going to work out? I don't know this person. I don't really know how they work. And do you feel that every record you come out with, you think the next one probably will be more successful because now maybe you learned something about, some of the newer members in the band that you didn't know before?
No, I don't think it's the case because at the end, the composition process is I write songs by myself, a lot of parts by myself, mainly all the choruses, the big melodies comes from me. And of course, I start working with Robbie De Micheli at first because he sent me over guitar parts, guitar riffs, and I listen to it and I select the one I like the most. And then I create music on top, arrangements on top, and then we exchange files. So since I live in London, we met for the first true production, but not for the last one. So we always work at a distance. But I have to say that I feel lucky because Robbie, Alessandro Sala, the bass player, and Paolo, they were playing together already in a previous band.
Okay.
We were playing like prog rock or something even more technical than what we do now. So they knew each other. So these three people, they already worked together, so they know each other. So I didn't know Sala, I knew Robbie, and I didn't know Paolo, but Robbie presented them, and I had trust in them, because they want to please me, they want to please themselves and please the music. So they don't want to be the ego stars of their instrument. They want to please the production, and this is what I also my approach. I want to please the songs. I don't care about myself. I care about the music. So they got this from they understood my approach, and I can really trust 100%. I didn't go in Germany to attend the recording of the drums. This is the only thing we recorded externally. The drums were recorded with Sebastian Seb Leverman in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't go there. I just trust the guy. I gave him, of course, all the parts, but he played on, he improved it. And so, yeah, there's a level of trust which is great. And we are all Italians. We are from the same town beside Giacomo. So the communication wise is perfect.
Yeah. when you first started this band, heavy metal was kind of in like recovery mode, right? In the I remember Rhapsody of Fire being like one of those bands that's really helping to bring this music back. And you know, when he first started out, what was that like? Because first of all, there wasn't a band that sounds anything like you. I don't think there is now. But what was it like coming into that era in the early days of the band? You know, when heavy metal, especially in the US and maybe some other areas, was kind of coming out of what I would consider like a dark time, you know, in the history of this music.
Well, I have to say that when I met Luca, he was 16, I was 18, something like that, and we were into any kind of music really, from pop to rock to metal to classical, and we really bothered to be metalheads at the time, you know. And but we started liking the kind of music, and I I started listening music like when I heard Europe, I was excited. Then from Europe, I moved to Ronnie James Dio, to Ingrid
Yeah.
Malmsteen, Halloween, Blind Guardian, King Diamond, Ozzy Osbourne, Scorpions, what Iron Maiden, I mean, whatever, every band. So for us, the scene, at least from our perspective, being Italians, it was always fantastic. You know, we I never liked this grunge movement, so I was never into it. So for us, we focused really on some specific genre of music,
Sure.
and we thought, okay, we are a heavy metal band, not even a band at the time, but we are a musician that likes heavy metal, and we want to compete with all the bands that are famous in the world. So this was the first thing, to write music that could compete. So for us, there was nothing else. There was the war, what was outside the window. We didn't care. We just sit down on the sofa and write songs in the living room. Can
Yeah.
you imagine? And then went to the studio, record some demos. But our goal was to be competitive and to do something that was kind of new, to create this element, this classical element, to combine it. And we didn't compose heavy metal songs and then apply some violins on top. We really started composing for all the instruments at the same time. So it was like to write classical music with the use of drums and bass and guitars. You know what I mean? It was a different process. You know,
Mhm.
it's not like, you understand what I mean. So from our perspective, it was just exciting to be able to have this material and to be conscious that we could have gone somewhere. You know, so we went to the first time in the studio, recorded music. Our first record label was super happy. They were super enthusiastic about the thing, and we just started selling records out of the blue, you know, without having a rehearsal room even.
Yeah. And it's interesting you brought that up. You brought it up that you're writing the actual compositions, then adding the guitars and the bass and stuff. And I think when you listen to bands that have music they've put out and then they try to go make a live album or make a record where they have classical instruments over it, you know, a lot of times, at least for me and even generally with most people, a lot of times that doesn't go over very well because those songs weren't originally meant to have those instruments in them. Sometimes
Yes.
it works great, sometimes it does not work that well at all.
Yeah.
But if you're writing it before you add the guitar parts, it's, you know, having the actual song.
Yeah,
Then, yeah.
it's more about the 4 6 hands work. You know, you
Mhm.
write the song. Of course, now you know nowadays I prefer to write music and to have a guitar riff in the beginning of the song, and I apply my orchestration on top of it. And this is exciting for me because it's like it triggers my fantasy. What can I do over
Right.
this guitar part? Sometimes the orchestration I do are incredible over a simple guitar riff, you know. And this is exciting for me to be able to do that. But it's being able to have all the elements to work on them at the same time. You know,
Yeah.
this is see the secret. You know, to have an eye on the heavy metal side and the classical part, and to be able to combine them in a, let's say, natural, clever way. You know,
Yeah.
where
It,
everything is combined together.
yeah. you had this ambition to obviously make something new and, come out and do something great. Early on, obviously, Sasha Path was your producer. And what was it that you may have learned from him that really helped you along throughout the years you've been doing this?
Well, there was a lot of friction at the beginning because when we sent demos and he wanted to start the production already and have some prepare all the sessions for the recordings, etc. And we sent everything programmed. We had the drums were programmed and everything was in a sequencer. So there were all the parts that were for him important to create sessions. And when we arrived at the studio, he said, guys, I've started already. And he completely changed all the drums. We had a lot of double bass everywhere. He just cut this in high speed or something. And we said, what's going on here? We don't want, we go back home. Goodbye. We were so drastic in that Limb from the first label says, no, please, Sasha, do like the guys they want because they have a vision. So he put back all this bass, double bass everywhere and these fast parts. And we started working from there. On that very point, he was always the producer of the first albums, but Luca and myself were producing the album as well without knowing it, without knowing the meaning. We really knew what we wanted. So at the end, we took over and we said, no, this is produced by us as well because we have a vision, we know what we want. But what Sasha helped, well, of course, help a bit everywhere. And he was helpful for the vocal recordings. Many times we wrote melodies that were at the beginning were a bit hectic. The combination between the words that Luca wanted and the melodies were difficult to sing sometimes. So sometimes we had to change melody, and Sasha was good at that. Sasha did a great job with Angra, with other bands before, but with them he really had more freedom. Not with us. We really wanted our own.
Right.
Respect the melody, respect the speed, respect what we want. So, but of course, in the beginning was really the guy that really helped us to put all the elements together and make them sound good in this mix.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. A lot of these last couple records, I think, last 3 records actually, I think are phenomenal. I think you've really done a great job, and it's like all that experience that you've had over the years. And man, I was going through the discography of the amount of records, the amount of songs you've put out. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. I was listening to stuff the other day that, like, I completely forgot existed. When I usually go back and listen to a band's a back catalog to kind of get, a feel, a perspective of where, the stuff in the past compared to now. And I remember like the one EP, for example, I was listening to one of the EPs that you had put out back then. And Rain of 1,000 Flames. That's what it was. I remember when that came out, and I don't know what it was. I absolutely loved that EP when it came out, and I forgot. Honestly, I forgot it existed. But then I started looking back at all the singles and all of the songs you've done over the years, and it's like, wow, man, you've really put out a lot of great stuff, over the last quarter century.
Yeah. Sometimes when I go back into and do the same thing you did, I'm amazed because some tracks I don't even remember. I don't even remember the titles. It's really too much stuff. But it's well, mix wise for sure. The last albums, the job that Seb does is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a difference between what we did in the past. In the past, we didn't want the powerful drums. We said we don't just make the drums as smoother as you can because we want to hear all the rest, the orchestration and the melody, the choir.
Yep.
Make the choir louder. And so now with this new technology, with new approach, of course, we need the drums, guitar to pump, sounds good. But with the definition that Seb is able to do, we can hear everything. So
Mm-hmm.
we have the energy, the power, but also the definition, and you can hear everything basically. So
Yeah. This new album, it's probably one of the best, if not the best sounding album from the production side that you've ever done. I'll honestly, I mean, that's something that I'm definitely going to say when I actually do the review of the record, is that it, from the production side, I
yeah.
think I really think that this is one of the best sounding albums you've done.
Yeah, thank you. It's the sound is really relevant when we're talking about drums,
Yeah.
bass. To the bass, we really searched for the right sound, and we had different choices that we recorded that Seb could use. So there was a lot of area that he could move, and all this. I prepared the stems for the orchestra. Otherwise, he would get 200 single tracks.
Mhm.
So I avoid him this sufferance. And I pre-mixed some stems, orchestral stems. But of course, there were a lot of vocal harmonies, a lot of choirs. I also pre-mixed because otherwise there would be really too much, like 1,000 tracks in the end. So
Right.
yeah, it's I try to do my best to have the best sounds from the source, and then Seb is elevating everything.
Yeah.
I could not do that really, so it's really a precious person that can really make the sound right and make the band sounds like we intended to sound.
Couple more things for you before we get off here. Any shows coming up with the band? You know, any kind of shows? Are you going on tour? I'm assuming, and anything you want to talk about as far as some upcoming shows you have going on?
Well, next Friday we fly off Mexico City, and we do
Okay.
5 shows in Latin America, and we come back, and the next weekend we play in a festival in Italy. Then there is a little break, and from July on, we every weekend we have a festival, and we have the Hellfest, we have the Barcelona Rock Fest, and we have the Joe Smith in Finland. We have a lot of festivals that are, it's a really full summer, full of events and shows. It's fantastic. And from September on, we are planning more touring, and we are working on a tour for US in September, October Asia, and there are still, everything has to be announced yet, but we are working on Asia, maybe Australia, and in October, November, Europe again. So it's
Pretty busy.
it's pretty busy, and we soon will be announcing all those dates. So yeah, we have events fixed for 2025. A few important
Right.
events we will be talking soon. So yeah,
That's great, man. Well,
great to have an album like that out, and
Yeah.
being so busy playing around, and it's good.
well, right. Last question for you before we get off. Again, any last words to the fans that are going to be checking out this interview?
Well, it's a blessing to still be here as a musician and to work on music that we appreciate and will make the listener and our fans happy. So we are looking forward to go play everywhere again, from Europe to Asia to US, and to have this exchange of energy again. The last 2 US tour was incredible. We are looking forward to come back.
Great, man. Well, Alex Staropoli from Rhapsody of Fire, great to have you on. You are definitely one of those people in the early days of me doing this that was really pretty inspirational for me in the beginning. And I still go back to those first couple records just because they came out at that time. But following the band over the years, it's really awesome to see that you're still here and making records as good as you're making them right now.
Thank you for having me here, and to everybody's listening.
All right.